Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about knowing when it's time to let someone go on your team. And this is going to be a little bit of a short episode. I'm still under the weather. I can't seem to kick this thing. I had an incredible experience leading keynote and leading a workshop at an in-person conference, and was this lovely sinus infection that I just cannot seem to shake. But while I was at that event, there was one of the sessions that I was leading. It was a workshop with established, successful business women, and we were talking about sustainable scaling without burning out. So really great session with a lot of good discussion in the room. And people asked some really interesting questions. And one of the questions that somebody had asked was, how does she know when it's time to let somebody go on her team? And so I wanted to share with you what I said to her. And I wanted to share some of the other feedback that was shared in the room as well, because as we're getting ready to, move into the new year, as we're looking ahead at what it's going to take for success and scale in our business, to achieve the vision that we have for the future, as we're probably looking at how we're going to get there, which is going to include your team and potentially making changes to your team. It's a really good time to be reflecting on this. So the person in the room had stood up and she said, I feel like I hang on to people a little bit too long in my team. I feel sometimes like I'm more invested in them than they are in my business. And I'm never quite sure when it's the right time to let somebody go. I have a feeling that it might be time to part ways with somebody on my team, but how do I really know when it's time? And there were a lot of really smart women in the room. And one of the women who was there actually runs an HR business. And so she stood up and she said, if you're thinking that, you already should have let her go. By the time you're asking yourself that question, the reality is you should have let her go already. And everyone in the room was like vehemently nodding their head yes, and I agreed fully, right? And so if you're asking yourself that question about anybody on your team, the reality is it's probably time to let them go, unfortunately, right? By the time we accept it, it's usually past time. But what I had shared with her, and this was one of those ones where she was just in her answer, and you could see other people in the room doing the same thing when they had that instant visceral feeling of, oh yeah, it's time. And so what I said to her is, let's assume that you are giving this person something to do. You're asking them to do something for you. I want you to just imagine right now, you're back from the conference, you've got this thing coming up, it's important, and you ask them to do it. And so she got herself in the headspace and she says, okay. And I said, what is your initial reaction? Do you assume she is going to do it right and you feel a sense of relief? Or do you assume that she is going to do it wrong? And she instantly just did, oh. And she said she's going to do it wrong. And I said, right. That's how you know that it's time to let somebody go. And we ended up having some conversation about it after that. But it does, I feel like when you think about your team, when you think about that person, right? Yes, there's somebody who's brand spanking new and you don't have, trust in them yet because they're still onboarding. But let's forget that person and think about that person who's been on your team for a bit. Right? Your team should give you a sense of trust, a sense of relief. You should know when you ask that something is going to be done, that it's going to actually be done. It's going to be done when they said it was going to be done. It's going to be done right. You should be able to turn something over, ask somebody to take something on, or ask somebody to support you with something. And in the end, it should feel like a relief to you. If you have the opposite feeling, which we all had people who have worked for us in the past, maybe currently you do, they're great people. You might really like them. There might be certain things that they do really well and you can rely on them for. But as an overall, when you ask them to do it, you have this immediate reaction where you're like, it's not going to be done right. I'm going to have to go in and check it, or I'm going to need Sally to go check it, somebody else on your team. I know we're going to need to fix it. Every time she takes this on, the date is wrong, or the price is wrong, or that this is wrong, or she misses 2 steps, or, you kind of know what that is. And so think about each of the people on your team. And certainly if you have any doubt about anybody on your team and whether or not they're the right person to bring you forward into the new year and to take you where you want to go in the new year from a success and scale perspective, ask yourself that question. You just ask them to do something important. Do you assume it's going to be done right? And do you feel a sense of relief? Or do you assume it's going to be done wrong? And you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to fix something or have someone check it. And that is usually really, really telling in whether or not that is the right person to bring forward with you or not. Now, one other piece that I'll add to this before I wrap up this episode is sometimes you have people, and it's not a performance issue at all. They're great. They're amazing. They're wonderful. They helped get you where you are today. Maybe they were even pivotal in helping to get you where you are today. You feel incredibly grateful to them for their role in getting you where you are today. It does not always mean they are the person who's capable of taking you where you want to go next, right? The person who helps you get to 6 figures is not always the same person that can help you get to 7. The person who helps you get to 7 is not always the person who can help you get to 5 or 10 million and beyond, right? And so people have different skills and your business needs different things at different times. So do take a fresh look at what your business needs for where you plan to take it. Look at that vision that you have. Think about the team that you want to have. Think about your team-based values. If you don't have them in place, go back and listen to the episode that I did on team-based values. It's one of my most popular episodes I've ever released. People really love it. Many people have adopted the values because I walk you through the ones that I have in Lean Out Method. So that's a great episode to go back and listen to as you're planning for kind of what you expect and how you might be building out your team in the new year. But really think through what it is that you need for your next level, and then look at your current team to see who today is ready to kind of help support you with that and will be one of your key go-to people to help get you there. Who do you have today who you want to actually create the financial and time investment in being able to up level? Maybe you want to send them for training and certification. If you do, send them over to my new institute, to Strategic Ops Institute. I've got an entrepreneurial project manager certification and a chief strategy and operating officer certification, as well as a strategy and operations leader community, the Soul Collective, right? So there's that. There's many other organizations and other businesses out there who can probably help up level them and help them either learn the leadership skills that they need or learn the actual skills to do their job or step into the next level of the role that you have them in, right? And so look at those people who maybe are really great, but starting to reach the top of their potential. And you know that with some training and with some mentorship, they'd be able to step into the next level to help take you to the next level. Really worth it to invest in the people that you have if you've got good people. But sometimes a person has gone as far as they're interested in going or as far as they're capable of going. And if they are not, unfortunately, able to take you where you need to go, that's where you need to make some really tough decisions in the business. And it could be a phased approach. A lot of times I've done this with people in the past. It's so hard because you just love the person dearly. But at the end of the day, what I frequently do is when they're a rock star for me, people ask me all the time for recommendations on hiring. Do you know anyone who? I have placed all of my rock stars in other businesses. And I felt really good about it because I was able, in a lot of cases, to help a client or to help a peer who was at a different level and needed someone to help them get like right where I was, where they had helped get me to, but they weren't yet where I was trying to go next, right? And so you can be super supportive to your team in that transition. But what you don't want to do is hold your business back by hanging on to someone who can't help take you where you need to go. I hope you find that helpful as you're planning ahead for the new year. I will see you again next week.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you uplevel your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.